If you look at history, then you will see a pattern that in the last 500 years has destroyed three big superpowers. And today, in 2025 America, is also following exactly that same pattern stage by stage that IT feels like we are reading the same script that took previous superpowers toward destruction, that in 1590 Spain was the richest empire in the world. IT controlled half of the world's gold and silver. All of Europe was under its control. Its currency worked everywhere. But in just 80 years, it went bankrupt and could never recover again. That in 1914, Britain was the biggest empire in human history. That it was said that the sun never set on the British Empire. The pound was the world's reserve currency. That in just 40 years, this entire empire ended. In 1991, the Soviet Union was a superpower. Nuclear weapons, global influence, and satellites all over the world. All of this ended in just 900 days, not because of a war, but because of economic implosion. Three times, three big. Superpowers collapsed in the same way. And here is what should terrify you. America has already completed 5 out of 7 stages. IT is walking on exactly the same pattern as old superpowers. Today's video will tell you how superpowers are destroyed, why every superpower thinks it is different, and why math says that America's turn has now come. Before understanding the pattern, you must understand what imperial collapse actually means. Not in books, but in reality. What it means when a superpower collapses. Imperial collapse does not start with a war or military defeat. IT starts with economic exhaustion. Superpowers expand more than their ability to maintain. Military bases in 150 countries, wars on multiple fronts, promises they cannot fulfill. In the beginning, the downfall is not visible to anyone. The currency is working. The military is winning wars. The government is fulfilling promises, but behind the curtain, a lot is happening. Resources are misallocated. Productive capacity shrinks. Intelligent people leave the country. And then comes acceleration. Your friend countries start changing sides. Enemies test boundaries. Reserve currency status starts ending. And suddenly the advantages that made you powerful become vulnerabilities. Your currency that everyone once demanded starts coming back. Your military that was spread across the world becomes unsustainable. Your promises that were once guarantees of power become hollow words. This is not textbook talk. Exactly this happened with Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union. And this happened because they took the exact same decisions that America is taking today. They believed their power was permanent. They refused to accept reality until collapse reached its peak. Let us see how 3 times all of this happened in exactly the same way. First, we start with Spain. In 1492, after Columbus discovered the Americas, Spain became the first superpower to capture the Aztec and Inca empires, and then the world's biggest gold and silver mines. 1550 Spanish ships were bringing 200 tons of silver to Spain every year. 1600 this reached 400 tons. Spain controlled the money supply of all Europe. The Spanish real was the global reserve currency. Everyone wanted Spanish silver. And from here that pattern begins. When a country controls money, it believes it is invincible. King Philip II, who ruled from 1556 to 1598, was the richest king in the world at that time, and he spent all the money on the Spanish Empire. Stage 1 is military overextension. Spain was fighting wars everywhere. Against the Ottoman Empire in the Mediterranean, against France and Italy, against Protestant rebels in the Netherlands, against England's navy in the Philippines and in the Americas. By 1580, Spain had armies on 4 continents, and their cost was extremely high. Half of Spain's revenue went to the military, and still it was not enough. Stage 2 is currency debasement. The Spanish government could not pay its bills with taxes alone, so they did what every failing empire does. They started mixing copper into silver coins. That a coin that should have been pure silver first became 50% copper, then 75% copper. Face value stayed the same, but real value fell. By 1600, Spanish silver coins barely had any silver left. Businessmen stopped accepting them at face value. Prices went through the roof. Stage 3 is debt spiral. Spain borrowed from Italian bankers, German bankers, and anyone willing to lend. In 1557, in less than 20 years of King Philip's rule, Spain declared bankruptcy. They defaulted on their debts, but they did not stop borrowing. In 1560, Spain went bankrupt again. In 1575 again. And in 1596 again. For bankruptcies in 40 years. Every time they promised reforms, and every time they returned to borrowing. Stage 4 is loss of productive capacity. This is something people do not understand about Spain's collapse. They had all the world's gold and silver, and that destroyed them. Because when you have unlimited money, you stop producing. Why grow food when you can import it? Why build ships when you can buy them? Why innovate when you only have to spend? The Spanish elite class considered all work beneath them. As a result, Manufacturing collapsed and agriculture stopped. All money went into importing goods from other countries. The gold and silver from America was spent on French wine, Italian silk, and luxury goods. Spain became a passage. Money passed through it and went onward. By 1600 Spain produced almost nothing. It was completely dependent on imports and on silver for payment. When silver mines declined and production stopped, the entire system collapsed. Stage 5 is social decay. With a failing economy, crime increased. Madrid streets filled with beggars. Productive people began to emigrate. The best minds went to France, England, and the Netherlands. Spain was left with bureaucrats, soldiers, and priests. In 01 was creating wealth. Everyone was only consuming. 1640 Spain lost Portugal. 1650 it lost the Netherlands. By 1700 the Spanish Empire was an empty shell. Big on the map, but economically dead. It fell from superpower to secondary power in less than a century and never recovered. Spain today is a small European country. Pleasant, cultured, but globally irrelevant. The stronghold of conquistadors is now a tourist destination. This is imperial collapse. Now let us move 300 years forward. In 1900, Britain, the empire where the sun never set its peak, Britain ruled 25% of the world's land and 400 million people. The pound sterling was the global reserve currency. Every major trade contract was in pounds. Every central bank held British bonds. London was the world's financial center. Like Spain, they believed this was permanent, but they were already following the pattern. Stage 1. Military overextension. By 1900 Britons. Reach was everywhere. India, Africa, the Middle East, China, the Pacific, the Caribbean. Their armies were on 6 continents, and the cost was enormous. When World War I started in 1914, Britain had a choice: stay neutral or bankrupt itself to win the war. They chose to fight. World War I cost Britain $40 billion, about $1 trillion today. They borrowed from everyone, mostly from America. By 1918, Britain owed America billions. The creditor became the debtor, but they won the war. Stage 2. Currency debasement. The pound was supposed to be backed by gold, but the war drained Britain's gold reserves. By 1920, gold reserves were half of 1914 levels. Still, they tried to maintain the pound's value. In 1925, they returned to the gold standard at pre-war rates. The problem was the pound was overvalued. Exports became expensive. Manufacturing fell. Unemployment rose. Interest rates stayed high. By 1931, they could not hold it. Britain left the gold standard. The pound fell 25% overnight. Stage 3. Debt spiral. Before recovering from World War I debt, World War II began. Another $120 billion spent. More borrowing from America. By 1945, Britain owed over $30 billion, more than its entire GDP. They won the war, but lost the empire. Stage 4. Loss of empire. In 1947, Britain lost India, its crown jewel. Over the next 20 years, everything was lost. By 1970, the British Empire existed only in history books. Stage 5. Currency collapse. The pound kept falling, from $4.03 in 1940 to $1.27 today. The global reserve currency became a regional currency. Britain tried to retain power through nuclear weapons and a UN seat, but the truth was cleared: a lost superpower, a museum of lost greatness. Now the most recent example, the Soviet Union. After World War II, the USSR became a superpower. Nuclear weapons, Eastern Europe, satellites in space. They believed communism would bury capitalism. Stage 1. Military overextension. Point 15. 20% of GDP spent on the military. Afghanistan, Cuba, Vietnam, Syria, Africa. Stage 2. Economic stagnation. Factories failed. Farms failed. Technology lagged. Stage 3. Currency collapse. In 01, trusted the ruble. Stage 4. Loss of empire. Eastern Europe broke away. Stage 5. Total collapse. December 26, 1991. No war, just economic failure. Now the shocking part. America is following the same pattern, stage by stage. Military overextension, currency debasement, debt spiral, loss of productive capacity, social decay. Stage 6. Loss of reserve currency. Stage 7. Total collapse. The sequence is locked. Only timing remains. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Take care.